Okay, so the purpose of this meeting today is to go through the criteria and the objectives for your first week of your clinical practice. So today we're going to discuss the content of your classes, and you've done your lesson plan for the week. So we're going to run through each of the different parts of your lesson and kind of analyze it and reflect on what you've done already and see how it can maybe be improved. And we're also going to look how that fits into the criteria from the Teach Now rubrics. So we're going to have a look and see which elements kind of already fit and maybe which parts we can have a look at improving. And we're also going to have a look at the different activities that you'll be expected to do in week one. So we're going to have a look and see the different types of instruction, and also see how you're going to kind of look at your classes in terms of classroom management, the learning experiences, and anything else you want to add. Okay. So first of all, should we have a look at your lesson plan? Okay, so I just want you to kind of talk me through
to identify and explain the basic structure of a story, beginning, middle, and end. I'm going to talk about the story How to Catch a Star, and then the students will listen. Then they will try to make prediction as they listen, which ties in with these two objectives. Now, this is my main objective, and then I'm pretty positive that they can meet this. If they can't, then I'll spend more time explaining it. As we read along, I think the students would try to pick up the words from the story as we read together. That's my main goal. For some of them, they might not be able to understand the story because their level is not as advanced. Because here I have three groups that I'm differentiating: advanced, intermediate, and basic. So I would expect that when I'm reading the story, I'm reading it to the group of students, and I would differentiate later in the group activity. And the skill that I'm focusing on would be communicative skill and thinking skill. Now, I don't know if this would be too much, but I still wrote it down because I think they're all related.
The skills, communicative and thinking, they're kind of almost interlinked. So as children think, they then express themselves and they're using their communication, or even just listening and, their comprehension skills. That's a part of thinking. So I think the skills do relate to listening to the story, talking about the story, and also you'll be able to go through and identify the different parts of the story. And I think you've already started to differentiate the class, which is great. So the differentiation you've got so far, is that for the story or for the activity that follows the story?
The activity that follows the story.
Okay, so how maybe could you differentiate the story itself? So when you're thinking about the children, kind of their comprehension of the story, what could you do to differentiate, to know that the children are following and understanding the story? Is there anything maybe you could do to differentiate?
I think I was thinking about this. That's a good question, because I didn't think about differentiating when I'm reading the story to the students, even though I understand that their levels might be different, and they might understand it differently because of the language, that their first language is Chinese. I think what I can do is to add to this, let me just write this down, is that I need to have visuals.
Visuals, that's a great way, so you can have more visuals to help with the understanding. And you could also use the visuals to sequence the story, because your goal is about the structure. So you could maybe have visuals which help the children sequence the story. So you might want to do a read through where the children are just listening, and then you may want to go through the story again. And that way the children who maybe struggled the first time to pick up all of the different aspects of the story, the second time round they might be able to pick up more. And also, you could maybe differentiate or think about differentiating the questions you ask. So as you're reading the story, or at the end of the story, you might want to think about different levels of questions. You might want to have some basic questions for the learners who are new to the language, and maybe it may just be recall questions for the beginners. Whereas you may want to ask some more open-ended questions for the intermediate and advanced. Maybe ask more questions about, say, what do you think will happen next? You could maybe stop at a particular point in the story, which is, leads into an event, and you may ask the children, well, what's going to happen? What do you think? And that way the children can express their own views, and they'll be able to use their thinking skills to think, oh, well, this has happened so far, what's going to happen next? And then they'll be able to communicate that. So you can maybe start to think about differentiating in all aspects of your class. And it could be as simple as having visuals, which is a really good suggestion, or the different types of questioning styles that we can use. But I think your differentiation is really good. I had a look through your lesson plan, and I think you've got your different groups set up, and the activities you've got already starting to take shape. You've got all of the important elements, and now we can just kind of see if we can refine them.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very good starting point. It's a very good starting point. And this essentially, when you're teaching, when you're following your lesson plan, is what we will be assessing in your rubrics. So did you want to have a look through the rubrics? I'll just give a brief introduction to kind of the first standard of the rubrics, and just a brief walkthrough. So basically, the first standard is about student development, and it's kind of looking at knowing how you can design, like your lesson plan, the different learning experiences to help your children grow, to help them learn new skills and use their knowledge. So there's going to be a lot about scaffolding and knowing what your children are and how much they understand, and also understanding maybe different learning styles. How can you accommodate all of the children in the class? How do you know how different children learn? And that's where it links in with differentiation, and maybe, obviously using assessment to be able to assess the children, know where they're at and know where they can go and how we can challenge them. So we've got different elements, and we'll briefly go through some of them. So these are some of the things that I'll be seeing, whether you're doing in your classes. So looking at understanding, okay, so whether the children are able to demonstrate their understanding of what they're learning in terms of the learning goals. So if we look at this element as an example, we've got 5 different ratings. So this is our rubric. So incomplete. So you didn't really show that you understand what the children are learning at all.
I hope that I'm not going to get that.
I doubt very much that you'll get a 0 for the first one. I'm sure that you'll be scoring well throughout. Yeah, insufficient. So yeah, I think the candidates.
I'm going for a 4.
Okay, you're going for outstanding.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, leading up to the 4, we do have insufficient, so you don't really show that you can implement strategies to inform learning. Basic developing, so you show a little knowledge, but maybe, you could, it's a work in progress. Proficient shows that you are able to know how students construct their knowledge and acquire skills and use it. And it also says here about their thinking processes. So as we do inquiry-based curriculum. So the way that the children are thinking about their answers comes back to, say, Bloom's taxonomy. So this comes down to how you design your questions, say in your Q&A, making them open-minded, things like that. I don't know if you've looked at Bloom's taxonomy for thinking and the way that we think and ask and answer questions.
Yeah, that's one of the chapters we have to study.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So developing our critical thinking and the way that we question our children, the way that we, can observe, what they know in terms of their thinking, and the processes that they use. And obviously outstanding, which you're aiming for. So, this is, you're clear. It's very clear that you understand exactly how the children are learning. You're able to reflect on it.